It's raining rain. Hallelujah, it's raining rain. Baby. What does it rain where you're from? Good morning, my beautiful babes and babettes. I'm your resident active advocate, and it's gross outside. So, let's talk about outdoor access. While I would not want to go outside today, it is important that people who use assisted devices for getting around, such as wheelchairs, walkers, canes, electric scooters, even white canes, be able to access the environment around them. Now, within the AODA specifically, though, there are stipulations that apply pretty much only to the access of parks and paths. Now, while these things do go a long way to giving people access to natural spaces and to places where they can hang out and associate with other people and bring their children to play and, go on nature hikes, that sort of thing, I find that to say that access should only really be granted in these specific places doesn't take things far enough, in my view. There's something called the curb cut effect. Now, I have talked before about how curbs, at least in my city and in Ontario specifically, are meant to go sort of on a slope rather than on a straight 90-degree angle. The curb cut effect basically means accessibility for one equals accessibility for all. However, the curb cutting itself does not actually refer to access to outdoor spaces. This is specifically for parks and for paths. So if you go into the woods, with people you're hanging out with or even on your own, you should be able to get down at least one path to get to where you're going. For example, 2 houses ago, we lived near a place that it was a very wooded area, and you could go through here to get to the ponds on the other side of the woods. It was difficult, but not impossible to get through in a wheelchair. And I think that pavement is usually the thing that is meant to be done in outdoor spaces to make them more accessible. But if paving cannot be done for fear of ruining the natural space itself, then the actual paths that lead through the space must themselves be made in some way accessible. This refers to widening paths. This refers to, if you can, evening out bumps, that sort of thing, because it's very difficult. And people who have the ordinary use of their legs and their feet and of their vision as well don't really think about how difficult it can be to get around roots and bumps and just divots in the earth, things like that are naturally occurring but make accessibility much harder to attain. So let's use the example of a white cane user. So someone who has limited or no vision trying to get through the forest using their white cane. How is this going to work? Usually there can be a paved path, but where that is not possible, things have to be wide enough and open enough for them to be able to get through. This also refers to accessibility issues anywhere on your path. So on the vertical expanse as well, if there are low-hanging branches in your way, those actually need to be removed in order to grant access to the path. If you are a person who is, say, fully sighted, You can dodge those probably easily enough without having to leave the path. But if you have a visual impairment or are completely blind, even though you may use a cane, the cane doesn't give you any information about what's in front of your face. And I don't think it's necessary for people to have to go around walking with their hand in front of their face, doing an in the air scan as they would with their cane on the ground. I don't think that that is strictly necessary when things can be altered to suit our needs. I myself have low vision. I'm not completely blind, but these things have affected me as well. I mean, I've smacked into branches and things. And when I was little, actually, I had an issue with bumping my head on the side view mirrors of cars. I was very short, of course, but I haven't gotten much taller. All 5'1" of me. In parks, though, so specifically in very open places, where there are paths, again, they need to be made accessible. And this is usually done through paving the path, which makes them much more even and much easier to get around on. Now, let's say you are a wheelchair user. That path has been made automatically more accessible for you. But when I talk about a thing called the curb cut effect, accessibility for one equals accessibility for all is the general principle. If you are, say, a woman with twins pushing a double stroller, that path has automatically been made more accessible for you as well. You are not necessarily disabled, but you are encumbered by this thing that you are pushing around with your little babies, you know. So you have accessibility needs as well. That is the same reason why the push buttons exist on the sides of doors now. I don't know whether this applies in America and places that are not Canada, really. I haven't been to any country other than America, but I also haven't done very much shopping in public places in America. So, any Americans in my audience, think about the sorts of places where you go shopping, where you go to eat, where you go to just live your ordinary life, and see whether there are these accessibility features, as you might call them, in the places around you. This also applies to the outdoor places around you. Are the parks and are the paths and the forests and things like that near to your house, are they accessible? If they are not, why are they not? And I think that an expansion to the law equals expansion to accessibility, equals expansion to exposure of the community of people with disabilities to the outside world. It's important that we be able to get around in our communities just in order to have a life outside of the house. I think that during the current pandemic, a lot of us are realizing how detrimental seclusion can be to mental health, but even to physical health. I mean, like, if people aren't exposed to sunlight often enough, they can start feeling very down, and, their energy can leave them, things like that. And everyone is affected in the same way by these natural processes. So people with disabilities need to be able to access their community so that we are not shut away or shunted out of sight into these little sequestered places where it's like, this here is the box where you belong, and I shouldn't have to see you outside your box. That's not good for me. That's not good for society. Bull. I call bull on that, because the more exposure we have to one another, the greater our understanding of the diversity of human life is. And the greater our understanding is, the greater our interaction. So, since humans are a social species, we should all be allowed to have the same accessibility to the same places. That is my opinion, but it is also the opinion of Ontario law. To a fairly limited extent, the law could go a lot further than it does, but I will talk about that in a later video. So I need to look more at the AODA and see what other areas it covers, but tomorrow I will be talking about other stipulations of the AODA because there are more sectors that it covers than just the ones that I have discussed so far. But I have an advisor on the side, and if I may recommend to all of you, it is a blog that is continually written and updated by her and by other people in this company. It is www.aoda.ca. All right. So if you want more information about the AODA itself, please feel free to look at that blog. There are quite a number of them written by my special consultant, and she is very well informed, in my opinion, and very good at her job. So, in order to better inform myself, I think I want to go through this blog to be more certain of what I am talking about, because I am in no way claiming to be an expert on any of this, but I know people who are, which is awesome for me, and awesome for you because it gives you better content. Alright, so that is my video for today, and I will see you all tomorrow to talk, actually, tomorrow I'm going to talk about web accessibility because this is an ever-expanding area and it's very important. All right, see you all tomorrow. Bye. Mwah.